My dear brothers and sisters, there are moments in life when something shifts quietly without thunder or applause, and we sense that God is close, not in the noise but in the stillness, not in the grand miracles the world expects, but in the soft, tender signs that only a heart open to love can recognize. Let us pause just for a moment. Let us breathe in this silence and ask, what does it look like when God draws near? There are wounds that do not bleed, wounds that no doctor sees. They rest in the heart, hidden behind smiles, buried beneath the routine of life. These wounds are the ones we carry from betrayal, from abandonment, from words spoken in anger, or love withheld in silence. And yet, when God draws near, these are the wounds He touches first, not with noise or spectacle, but with a mercy so quiet it can only be heard by a heart willing to listen. I think of a woman I met once, many years ago. Her eyes carried the sorrow of someone who had learned to survive in silence. She had lost her son in a moment of senseless violence, a life taken too soon. For years, she came to the back of the church, never speaking, just sitting watching. One day she told me, I come here because this is where he once sat. I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. Sometimes silence is the only honest prayer we have. Over time, her visits changed. The tears remained, but so did something new. Peace. Not the peace the world offers, not the peace of forgetting or moving on, but the peace that comes when a broken heart meets the gentle hand of God. She forgave the one who had taken her child, not because she had to, but because love had made space for healing. That is a miracle. That's what happens when God is near. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is strength. It is choosing mercy over revenge, choosing love even when it hurts. It is the cross. Jesus, in his final breath, forgave those who nailed him there. He did not curse them. He did not condemn. He whispered, Father, forgive them. And in that whisper, the world was changed. We are called to forgive, not because it is easy, but because it is holy. Because when we forgive, we are most like Him. And when we allow our hearts to be softened, to be touched by grace, the wounds begin to heal quietly, but truly. So today, if you carry pain, if someone has hurt you, if your heart is heavy with memories you'd rather forget, bring them to the Lord, not with perfect words, not with strength. Just bring them. He will do the rest. Mercy will come. Healing will begin. And in that moment, the miracle of God's nearness will unfold in your life. Let Him in. Let Him love you there. There is a kind of joy the world cannot understand. It is not loud. It is not glamorous. It is not the kind you find in applause or in possessions. It is quiet, like the dawn, humble, like bread broken among friends. This joy appears in the most unexpected places, among the poor, among the weary, among those who have nothing but continue to give everything. And when we see it, when we really see it, we know God is near. I remember once visiting a small village, dusty roads, homes with no doors, only curtains swaying in the wind. The people had little, and yet their eyes held something. The rich often spend a lifetime chasing. A little girl came running toward me, barefoot, holding a cracked toy. She smiled, wide, unashamed, joyful. She had nothing, but she had everything. Her joy was not bought. It was given. It was a grace. This is the joy Jesus speaks of when he says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit," not because poverty is holy in itself, but because the poor know their need for God. They depend not on their own strength, but on the love that sustains all things. And in that trust, in that surrender, joy is born. A joy the world cannot steal. So often we chase after happiness that fades. We think joy will come when we succeed, when we are admired, when we are comfortable. But then we arrive at those places and still feel empty. Why? Because joy is not a destination. It is a presence. It is the presence of God dwelling in a heart that has made room. I have seen joy in the eyes of the elderly woman who prays alone each day, lighting candles for others. I have seen joy in the hands of a young man who gives his sandwich to someone hungrier than himself. I have seen joy in those who grieve with hope, who suffer with love, who live simply and generously. God is near when this kind of joy rises up from the ashes of sorrow, when it bubbles up in kitchens, where meals are shared, in streets, where kindness is offered, in prisons where forgiveness is spoken. That joy, unexpected, undeserved, is holy. It is a sign. Let us open our eyes. Let us search for it not in riches, but in relationships, not in things, but in hearts. And above all, let us become bearers of it. Even when we are tired, even when we are broken, let us choose joy, quietly, gently, courageously. And in choosing joy, we will find Him. There is a love the world finds foolish, a love that does not defend itself, does not repay evil with evil, a love that dares to embrace even those who wound it. And yet, this is the love of the gospel. When God is near, this love begins to bloom in places we thought were barren. We find ourselves moved to forgive not only those who apologize, but even those who never will. We begin to pray not only for our friends, but for our enemies. And these dear brothers and sisters is nothing less than a miracle. I met a young man once whose father was killed during a civil conflict. For years, bitterness grew in his heart like a stone. He said he used to wake up angry, go to bed angry, carry his sorrow like a shield. But one day, he heard the gospel read aloud. Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. And he said those words landed like a whisper in his soul. He resisted them at first. How could he love someone who had taken so much from him? But slowly, that whisper grew louder. He began to pray, not with perfect words, but with honest ones. And with each prayer, the stone in his heart began to crack. He told me, I didn't forgive to free him. I forgive to free myself. And in that forgiveness, he found God, not in the answers, but in the act of mercy itself. That is what happens when God is near. Walls fall. Chains break. Enemies become brothers. This is not easy. Jesus never said it would be, but he lived it. From the cross, he looked upon those who had pierced him and said, Father, forgive them. Not because they deserved it, but because love always goes further than justice. Love does not count the cost. It gives, it heals, it saves. In a world that teaches us to defend ourselves, to protect our pride, to strike back, Jesus shows us another way, the way of courageous tenderness, the way of mercy, the way of the cross. So today, let us look within. Who have we closed our hearts to? Who have we named as enemy? Who have we stopped praying for? Perhaps that is where God is waiting. Perhaps that is where love is asking to be born again. Let us not be afraid to love where it hurts. Let us not be afraid to forgive, for in doing so, we do not become weaker. We become more like Christ. And in that, we will know God is truly near. There are moments when a person's heart becomes like a lamp, flickering, glowing, giving light to others in a way they do not fully realize. When God is near, this light begins to shine in ordinary people through small acts of goodness that seem invisible to the world but are deeply seen by heaven. A neighbor who brings soup to a sick friend, a child who shares their bread with another who has none, a stranger who notices someone no one else sees. These are not grand gestures, but they are holy. They are signs that the Spirit is alive. I remember a woman in a small town, poor in many things, but rich in mercy. She had very little. Her house was small. Her shoes were worn, but her door was always open. The children who had no one to care for them found comfort there. The lonely came for tea and stayed for peace. She never preached, never pointed fingers. She simply loved quietly, stayed fully. And in that place, you felt God was near. Not because there were miracles, but because there was love. Her life had become a testimony. Sometimes we think holiness means perfection, but does not just mean presence. Holiness means showing up for others even when we are tired. Holiness means loving when it is inconvenient. Holiness means allowing God to work through our hands, even when they are trembling. The saints are not people who had no weakness. The saints are those who let their weakness become a doorway for grace. And so can we, if we live each day with eyes open for the suffering of others, if we offer kindness not as an exception but as a way of being, then we too will shine with the light of Christ, a light that darkness cannot overcome. So I ask you, who around you needs to be seen today? Who is waiting for a word, a gesture, a small act of compassion? Do not wait for someone else. Be the one. Be the one who brings warmth of God's love where it is coldest. In your home, in your workplace, in the street. Let your life become a lamp. Let your love be the sign. And you will see where love is given, God is near. There are times when silence becomes a sacred place. A place where words are no longer needed. Where the noise of the world fades and something deeper begins to stir. When God is near, a certain stillness enters the soul, not a stillness of escape, but of listening, a stillness that says, "Be not afraid," a stillness that does not remove suffering, but holds it tenderly. And in that stillness, we begin to see with different eyes. I think of a nurse I once met in a palliative care unit. Day after day, she entered rooms where life was fading. There were no cures, no miracles, as the world might measure them. But her presence was a miracle. She would sit at the bedside, sometimes holding a hand, sometimes offering just a wordless gaze. One patient said to her, "You don't try to fix my pain. You stay with it." That is compassion. That is where God is near. Too often, we try to run from pain, ours and others. We cover it with distractions, explain it away, or turn our faces. But Jesus never turned away. He stepped into the wounds of the world. He wept. He touched the leper. He allowed himself to suffer with us. And through that suffering, he revealed the deep tenderness of the Father. When we are near to those who are suffering, not with answers, but with presence, we become like Christ. When we stand with the poor, when we sit beside the grieving, when we walk slowly with those who are forgotten. We echo the very heartbeat of God. We do not need to be strong to do this. We only need to be present. We only need to love. And sometimes the suffering is our own, a grief we carry in silence, a fear we cannot name. In these moments too, God draws close, not to take away the pain, but to share it, to carry it with us, to redeem it. Even the darkest night, the light of His mercy flickers gently within. So I invite you, gently but firmly, do not avoid the wounded. Do not hide your own wounds. Bring them into the light of love. Let us be a people who do not flee from the cross, but who find in it the deepest sign that God is near. A God who suffers with us, who stays with us, and who, through love, transforms even sorrow into hope. And so, dear brothers and sisters, as we have walked together through these signs of God's nearness, through peace that passes all understanding, through mercy that forgives beyond reason, through love that shines in hidden acts, through courage that embraces suffering, we are reminded of a simple but profound truth. God is not far. He is not distant. He is here, among us, within us, waiting to be seen in the eyes of the stranger, the cry of the poor, the tenderness of a mother, the patience of the caregiver, the prayer of a broken heart. Let us not harden our hearts. Let us not pass by the holy moments hidden in our everyday lives. God comes in quiet ways, in humble ways, in the ways the world forgets. But His signs are always calling us to love more deeply, to forgive more freely, to serve more joyfully, and to trust more completely. Do not be afraid to live this message. Do not be afraid to be different. The world needs witnesses of hope. The world needs hearts rooted in mercy. The world needs your light. You may not see the fruits of your kindness, your courage, your prayers, but God sees. God sees, and He is near. So go forward with peace. Go forward with tenderness. Go forward with the courage to love, even when it is hard, even when it costs. And know this, you are never alone. Christ walks with you. He walks with us all. May His presence guide your steps. May His mercy fill your heart. And may His love shine through you in everything you do. Good luck on your journey of faith. May you be blessed, and may you be a blessing to others. Thank you. Thank you from the heart for listening, for opening your soul, and for your willingness to carry this message into the world. Let us walk together with hope, humility, and always with love. Amen.